The truth is, most of us compose on the desk, but we read on the phone. If you're making it hard for the podcast host to say yes and interview you, you're hurting yourself. Today, we're going to talk about one sheets. When you send an invitation, when you send an introduction to a podcast host, it should be a gift, not a chore. And speaking of gift, I want to introduce you to a great podcast.
Hi there. This is Sue Monheit, host of the Gift Biz Unwrapped podcast, and you are listening to Podcast Guest Profits, hosted by Tom Schwab and sponsored by Interview Valet.
Thanks, Sue. Now, Sue has grown her business and her podcast with podcast guesting. And if you want to see a great one sheet, she has got it perfected. Now, I want to share the elements of each one sheet with you so that you can make one yourself. Remember, most podcasters are not trained journalists. If you give them a 10-page media kit, it's going to be a reason for them to say no. They're going to look at it on their phone and go, wow, this looks like a whole lot of work, even to consider if I'm going to say yes. Why would I want to invite this person to be on the guest? Make it easy for them to say yes to you as a guest. Make it easy for them to interview you, and make it easy for them to promote the episode. You can do all of this with a great one sheet. So let's look at one. So this is an example of my one sheet. And as you can see, there's different elements to it. The first thing is the picture. People like faces. Make sure you show your smiling face there. Don't make them go to Google Image and try to figure out what image you want promoted on the episode. If you can get your logo in there, that's great. I like to put the podcast microphone in front of me. That way, at least they know, man, this guy's got the equipment. Now, put the name up there also. On social media, I'm often called Thomas. Everybody that knows me knows that I like Tom. So put that up there. Put your tagline up there, what you can help them with. Your next great podcast guest is not a tagline. That is so overused. Now come down in here, and this is the biography. Now, this could be some background information on you. If there's keywords that you want them to use, make sure those are highlighted. Put the book cover, if you've got that, or maybe a company logo there, just as a reminder of what you can talk about. Now, here is the suggested introduction. In the industry, this is called a rip and read. It should be in third person. It should be short enough so they can just read this and say, Tom, welcome to the show. Next, go through interview topics. These might be 5 to 7 different topics you could talk about. These could be the name of the show or the title of the show. One of the great things to do is put an action verb in there and then the promise at the end. So the 3 secrets to get booked on podcasts and grow your business. So a verb and then a promise to it. Now let's come up in here. This is a great place for a testimonial. Now, this one's from Carrie Wilkerson. I put Carrie's picture up there too. Even if they don't read this, they may look and go, hey, that's Carrie. I know her. If she vouches for Tom, that's good enough for me. Down here, put all your connection links in there. Don't make them hunt and decide, I wonder which Tom Schwab from Kalamazoo this really is. This is really important when they start promoting the episode. Make it easy for them. You can also have multiple versions of your one sheet. So this is a different one. Most of the information is similar, but this one has a quote from Dan Miller. Dan's well known in the entrepreneurial space, in the startup space. So it's okay to have multiple one sheets to reach out to people. This is one that I really like. Tracy Reuter is a great podcast guest, but often her name is mispronounced. So with this, right in the suggested intro, she puts how to pronounce her name. Some people will say it rhymes with this word. Make it easy. There's nothing more awkward than starting a podcast and having to point out that, hey, you mispronounced my name. So there's the elements of a great one sheet. What could go wrong with these? Well, I've seen a lot of one sheets in my life, and there's some that just I had to scratch my head on and said, this may be beautiful, but this is not functional. Let me give you a couple examples. There was one, it was beautiful. It was a black background. It had white type on it. But when you printed that one sheet out, it almost came out wet. There was so much ink on it, and the ink had bled into the white type. So it was even, you couldn't even read it. Other ones on the social media links, they'll just put Twitter and they'll hyperlink that to the Twitter account. Well, that looks and works really well when it's on a monitor. But once you print that out, it's completely useless. So make sure you add that to it. The other one is most of us, if we're on podcasts, we're not that pretty, right? I'll speak for myself. I saw one where it was an author and they had taken 50% of the real estate and put the author's picture on it. There wasn't even the picture of the book. And I'm like, well, what's the focus on this? Right? So make sure that you give them the information. But if I see a small picture of you or half the page, it doesn't make a difference to me. I just want to know who I'm talking to, and I'm going to grab that image to use in social media. Some other things would be having a weird typeface or the typeface so small that you can't read it. Remember, somebody is reading this probably on their phone. So if it's hard to read there, it can be tough. I saw one sheet one time, and it was really, really interesting. It was really creative. It was the 8.5 11 by sheet turned on its side, and then there was different cartoon frames on each one. And they told the story as you went through there. Very creative, but I don't know how I would ever say yes to that on the phone. Or if I was interviewing them, would I be able to get that information quickly when I needed it? So the whole idea here is you want to make it easy. Your one sheet should make it easy for the host to say yes to you as a guest, to interview you, and to promote you. Make it a gift, not a chore. If you've got a one sheet, post it down below. It's a great way to promote yourself. And also, I'd be happy to give you any feedback that I might have on that. Podcast guesting is a great way to grow your brand and to grow your business. But to do that, you need to get on the right podcast. And having a great one sheet can be the first step in getting the host to say yes.